Hello everyone and welcome to my second video here on Run It Once. Let's jump into it. Video 1 was really fun, but let's take it a step up. There's a little intro based. I think this one is like really exciting and it covers some of my most loved subjects. I remember when I was learning some of this, it just continually kind of blew my mind. So video number 2 for the blue collar poker series. Again, this is a series where I'm essentially trying to explain GTO theory fundamentals to like a 5-year-old. How can you explain it as easy as possible? Because very often these things are overwhelming. It took me a long time to learn, and there's a lot of people that are really curious to think about the game on a higher level. So yeah, that's what this is all about. So part 2, this is all about 3-betting. Remember, last video we did a lot of opening range work and the fundamentals based around that, and we're going to expand on that, and you're going to see why that first video was so important. So if you haven't watched the first video, I highly recommend you go check that out. This is absolutely one of my favorite subjects because there is a true beauty in the way that all the ranges interact with each other. That kind of blows my mind. I don't know, you run these sims and you jump into the solvers and like they're so smart for so many reasons, and yeah, I just really find it kind of actually beautiful how all the data works together. So here we have an opening range. This is a cutoff opening range, and we really have to work hard to know what this looks like because in-game, we are going to adapt our 3-betting range very specifically. This opening range has a very specific answer about how to interact with it. And you can see to the right, would be our button strategy. So this is just an example. Cutoff raises, we're 30 bigs effective. This is kind of a strategy we would want to use as a polarized range. And there's very specific reasons why we're going to do all sorts of things with every single hand. And again, it's like, yeah, we got to get the pre-flop stuff nailed down because the 3-bets just beautifully interact. And like we kind of talked about how the GTO world is this beautiful universe of laws and they're all like interwoven. Understanding it all is just so key and will unlock your confidence as a poker player. So 2 main subjects that we really need to understand, and we're going to hammer home in this video, are linear ranges and polarized ranges. I'm sure you've heard these terms, but I played poker for many years before I truly understood what exactly they meant. Yeah, we got to lock this down. Linear ranges, polarized ranges, what they are, when we're going to use them, how to use them, and yeah, very 2 key things we must learn here. So let's start with a linear range, which is my least favorite of the 2. It's just a little more boring. But a linear range is basically when you adopt a strategy that's a little bit simple. You raise with your best hands. You try to build a big pot with your best hands. You call with your medium hands. And then you fold your weak hands. This is basically how poker is played at the low levels. Build a big pot with a big hand. Call with a medium hand, maybe you can make a hand and then build a big pot, but you want to fold your weakest hands. So I ripped this from Phil Galfon's YouTube video. Shout out to you, Phil. This is a pretty good visual demonstration of when we are using a linear range. We are going to take our best hands, and they're always going to be active raises, active 3-bets. Again, trying to build the pot with our best hands. You're going to have a section of hands which you call, and then obviously you fold most of your hands. So a visual representation of a linear range. This is another classic chart which displays a linear range. Very simple. You take all your good hands that you want to play big pots with, which are red, and you're going to raise them. You're always very aggressive with the top of your range. You're going to call your medium hands and then fold your weaker hands. If you look in GTO Wizard and you find some more outputs like this is kind of what we're going to deal with. On the left, this is a classic. This is what ranges used to look like in 2008 or whatever. But now we use frequencies and it's a little more detailed. So on the right here, it's a bit of a tighter range, but this is a classic linear range. The pink is aggression. So we're taking all our good hands and being very aggressive with them. Calling the medium hands, and then the blue is the fold. So again, very easy structured tiers. I think about it kind of like this. Think about it, we're assembling an army in ancient Sparta. This is how I think of linear ranges. You're just kind of, you're going to go to war with your best warriors. You're literally going to take all your best warriors and put them on the battlefield. Hey, you guys are our best shot at winning this war. I will live and die with you guys. So Jacks plus, Ace King, suited broadways, all these beautiful hands. Let's build big pots with them, and that's how we're going to accumulate our strategy. All the soldiers are kind of the same. Go to war, young men. This is a linear strategy. Very, very simple and kind of primal in a way that's how it fits in my mind. So when do we see linear ranges in actual poker? Well, it comes when you're deep, basically. Deep early level MTT play. If you're in an early level tournament, that's a little bit soft. In general, it's a good idea just to go barbaric with your best hands, and that's how you're going to do it with. Linear ranges are very effective at low-level poker. If you're playing 1-2, if you're playing soft home games, if you're playing soft tournaments, it's kind of a simple, kind of newbie strategy to use. And it's very good against whales and fish. Whales and fish, they put too much money in with weak hands. So obviously a good kind of counter strategy to that is we pile money in with our good hands. They're going to put too much money in with their weak hands, and we're going to win most of the money just because we're playing a stronger range. So they're very good against whales and fish, and they're very good in like cash games, basically. Cash games are always deep, and you're always going to see, in general, linear ranges because of that. The benefits of using linear ranges in poker, they're kind of simple. Like, it's very simple to kind of execute as well. It's very ABC. They're very good versus whales and fish, again, because whales and fish are going to continue with too wide of a range. So we kind of smash them by using a linear poker strategy. They're very comfortable. The first 2 years of my poker career, I played 1-2 no limit, and I just played a pure linear range. Nobody really caught on. Everybody still gave me too much action, and I printed pretty hard, and I was always very comfortable. It's very comfortable playing big pots with good hands. Like, sometimes they'll get you, but you just always feel like, yeah, you're comfy. You're really comfortable with the suited broadways, the big pairs, etc., etc. And then another benefit is, again, using it to crush low-level poker. Okay, that's a brief explanation of linear ranges. So now it's my least favorite of the two because it's, it's not that stimulating. There's a lot of strategy that goes into it, but the real one that I get really excited about, and it's just so sexy and just like so fun to implement, polarized ranges. Let's talk about what these are. It is a strategy that is a little more complex. You still want to raise your best hands. That's how poker works. You still want to, in general, put money in with the big pairs, the ace kings. You're still going to raise those real premiums, but you're going to have a little more nuance to your strategy. You're going to call with the best calling hands. There are certain hands in the range that have properties that make them very high EV calls. We're going to learn what those are. And then you want to bluff with the best bluffing hands. There are certain hands in the range that have very good properties for bluffing. We need to know what those are as well. And of course, we're going to fold the weaker hands because fuck the weaker hands. They're just like literally trash. So the linear strategy is, again, going to war with your best warriors. It's way more fun to play polarized strategy because you're kind of building a ninja army. Think about it like this. You're deploying different soldiers in different ways. Like, these hands have different properties to go to war in this way, or these hands are really good bluffs, so that's their specialized skill set. And it's kind of like playing a more detailed game of Risk, where all your different little armies have specific properties that make them very fun. So yeah, I like building my ninja army when I use my polarized range. And again, I ripped this from Phil Galfon's YouTube video. This is a good visual demonstration of what a polarized range looks like. So again, at the top, the cream of the crop is going to be our value re-raises. Aces, kings, queens, jacks. We're always going to want to put money in with our best soldiers. Ace, king, the suited broadways. So that's the value 3-bet portion, right? And then we're going to take the next tier and we're going to do a lot of calling. Hands like ace, jack suited, ace 10 suited, king, queen suited, queen, jack suited, 9s, 8s. These hands work really well as calls with our polarized range. And then the bottom tier of hands that we want to play, we're actually going to use them as 3-bet bluffs for very specific reasons as well, which we'll get into. So this is a good visualization of kind of what a polarized range looks like. And if we're going to put that into a classic visual chart here. This is kind of what a polarized range looks like. The cream of the crop, we're going to fast play our value hands. We're going to find calls with these hands, these medium hands that work really well as calls. And then we're going to take the bottom tier of hands that we want to play, and we're going to 3-bet bluff them. I would never execute this chart. I think it's pretty trash, but it's just a good visual. It's kind of blocky. Again, this is a polarized range. If we look in GTO Wizard and find an output, this is kind of what a polarized range looks like. We take our best hands, 10s plus ace king, value, flatting a lot of these medium hands, and then we're taking the bottom tier of our V-pips and we're using them as 3-bet bluffs. Ace 9, ace 8, the queen 8 suited, the queen 7. So yeah, this is what a polarized range looks like. So yeah, if this is the first time you heard that, that might be overwhelming. Pause the video, go back through it. It is absolutely fundamental that we understand these two aspects, because these concepts are used in every aspect of understanding GTO poker, and it comes in post-flop as well. When we're deciding which hands to bluff, we need to understand this concept of where we're at in our range and how we're bluffing with different portions. Very cool. So when do we see polarized ranges? They always come into play in mid to late MTT stages. It's very important that we understand polarized ranges and we become very comfortable using them, kind of deploying our army in that sense, because anytime any money is super serious in tournaments, the average stack is going to be between, 20 to 40 big blinds. And that is when you see polarized ranges a lot. So anytime you're deep in a tournament and there's a lot of money on the line, this is commonly the strategy that should be used. It's also used in high-level poker. If you're really going to crush a final table, you're really going to shit on people, these are kind of the strategies that all the good players use. It's very good and effective versus good players and pros. For example, if we're playing a fish, I might not bluff with the ace 9 offsuit. I might not bluff with the queen 8 suited because they probably don't understand and they're probably going to put too much money in. But versus professionals in tournament stages, we can kind of use this blocker-oriented strategy and we can have really, really good results. If you're playing a cash game, a deep stack cash game, you basically never want to use this because it's just not, stick with the linear stuff. The ninja army, you're deep in a tournament, you got your 30 big blind stack, you got your ninjas you're ready to deploy and pick up these pots. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, the benefits of using polarized ranges, it's great versus good players and pros. You can put a lot of pressure on these guys. You can use it to print in the highest portions of the tournaments. It's really fun and dynamic, and it really activates your poker brain as well. And it's pretty fun. I get a little bit giddy over it. Okay, so that's a basic demonstration. Now let's get into more examples of what these ranges kind of look like, and then we'll get into all sorts of practice. So let's go back to linear for a second. This is an example of a button opening range at 100 big blinds. Pretty standard stuff, a lot of suited stuff. They're opening a lot of hands. So let's say we're in the small blind and we want to 3-bet. So just picture this with me for a moment. We're in a tournament. The button opens. We're all 100 bigs deep. This is maybe the first level of the tournament. Maybe it's the first hand. Button opens. We're in the small blind. We're deep. We want to go to war with our big hands. We already know because we're 100 bigs deep, we're using a linear strategy. It's going to look something like this out of the small blind. So we're taking all of our good hands. We are 3-betting. And then we're going to flat hands that don't really want to play a big pot out of position. So yeah, this is a linear range from the small blind. Pretty comfortable. It's very comfortable 3-betting these. We can flat the suited kings, flat the worst suited aces. You're never really going to 3-bet deuces to 5s ever. They're always going to be calls. You try to set mine with them. So yeah, this is kind of an example of what we are going to do. Again, a reminder, now that we understand the difference, when we're using linear ranges, we're looking to play big pots with big hands. And it really favors suited cards. Suited cards are very important when we're playing very deep. The opportunity to make a flush is way more important. Because remember back to lesson 1, we talked about this. When you're 20 bigs deep, you can kind of flop a pair and get the money in. But if you're playing king 10 off and you're 100 bigs deep, you flop a pair, a couple bets go in, it gets very uncomfortable. You need to make a big hand like a flush to really stack somebody. Also, with linear ranges, you're going to see this in the solves. Board coverage is very important. When I was playing 1-2 using a linear range, I could give a shit about board coverage because they weren't thinking on that high of a level. But when you're playing against good players and you're deep, it's very important. And you're going to see the linear ranges use all sorts of hands because board coverage is important. Let's say we're 100 bigs deep. We're playing against a good player. They raise, I 3-bet, they call. Stack to pot size ratio could be like 8. It could be massive. So having kind of the ability to have the nuts on different boards is very important. That's why you see in linear ranges, they do use the suited connector sometimes so we can have coverage on the low boards. You see the 7-8 suited. This is a pretty good board coverage. Obviously, we don't have a lot of deuces or threes, but no matter what board comes after we use this linear range, we'll have some pretty good board coverage. Okay, very, very cool. Let's keep going. Let's look at some more examples for a linear range. This is 100 big blinds. So this is a low jack opening range. We know what this is because we've studied this. And then this is our response in the hijack. So yeah, linear range, we're going to use 9s through aces, the very good hands. But again, what you notice here is it mixes a lot. It really does mix a lot, which is kind of uncomfortable if you're new to this aspect. It's like a little bit confusing, but just notice that it uses a mixture here because the board coverage is important. Gets in there with a little bit with 6-5 suited, ace 5. When we look at this spot at 30 big steep, it operates very, very differently. But yeah, an example of a linear range. If you're playing against fish, I would just like actually make my 3-bets way more in the top left and not worry about the board coverage as much. This is a pretty good example if you're up against a good player of a strategy you should execute. Okay, so let's try a little manual work here. Let's see how I can do. So let's see this situation. I'm going to ask myself off the top of my dome to recreate a strategy, a linear 100 big blind button response to a cutoff open. All right, cutoff opens. I'm early in a tournament, 100 bigs. Let's say they're good players, so I should create a really good linear strategy here. I don't know, off the top of my dome, what would I do on the button? Well, we always start with our good hands, 9s plus, ace kings, ace queens. I pretty much always pure bet, 3-bet these. And then we're going to mix in a lot of this stuff as well. And then here, I don't know, I'd do it about half the time, flat in half the time. I'd get in the king 10 suited a lot, the queen 10. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. 3-betting 8 sometimes, 3-betting 7s. Deuces or 6, pretty much never 3-bet. They're pretty much pure call. And then we get over here. And we are going to 3-bet the offsuit broadways. But remember, at 100 bigs deep, the linear strategy, being suited is pretty important. So I'd do a little less frequency. But I would get in there with them sometimes for sure. I would flat a lot of these. I would mix here some amount as well. These would all be pure plays, either 3-betting or calling. And then, yeah, so that's my 3-betting strategy. I would flat a lot of these. I'd flat all the pairs, flat these at a mixture. Okay, I'm going to lock that in. This would be an approximate linear strategy that I would use versus a cutoff open. Let's see how I did. This is the answer. Okay. We're in the realm. We're in the realm. It's actually a little wider than I went on every single territory. So it's interesting. Notice even at 100 big blinds, there are some kind of polarized properties here where it pure flats the ace 10 suited. But yeah, always 3-betting these big ones, mixing these, mixing these. The sim really comes up with this like beautiful board coverage for sure. It really wants the ability to have a little bit of everything. I don't know if in-game I would execute just like this. It also comes in with the ace 9 and ace 8 a little bit, which is kind of surprising at 100 big steep. And I think I would chill on the ace 8 offsuit a little bit in game, but I did okay. I'll give myself like a B-. It seems like kind of appropriate, but as long as we kind of are in the ballpark and understand somewhat how to respond. All right, now let's go to GTO Wizard and let's practice our linear 3-betting strategies. Cool. So I loaded up GTO Wizard. We are going to practice linear deep 3-betting strategies. And this will be really, really good. I encourage you to create the same drill at home, play along with me, but really just get lots of reps in. Jack 9 here, this is just going to be a fold. Small blind versus cutoff. Okay, they open off at 32. Actually, we're not that deep here. So this is going to be a little more polarized than before. Ace 3, very heavy flat, probably a small amount of 3-bet. We do have a low number here. I'm going to play the flat here. 100% call. See how we're flat in here. We're going to get into polarized ranges a little bit more here, but you can see this is actually pretty polar. Notice when it's a polar range, it uses the offsuit stuff much more. Hide the answer. Okay, here we are, super deep. UTG +1 raises. King 9 suited is the bottom of our like opening range here, along with like, it's near the bottom of our opening range. So I think there's just a fold. We have to be very strong to 3-bet here, even though this has some pretty good properties, but we're strong and linear here. So I think King 10 is a heavy 3-bet, but I do think King 9 suited is a fold. So I'm going to fold. Ooh, I missed it by a pip. I missed it by a pip. You can see this is a classic linear mix strategy that we looked at. So it does actually pure play the King 9 suited, which surprised me a little bit. So I missed there, unfortunately. You can see, look, notice how deep we are. We talk about this all the time. Ace Jack, it just folds. The offsuit hands really shrivel up. It prefers to play King 9 suited here versus Ace Jack offsuit. That's a good little mental note. Okay, hijack opens. We know a hijack opening range. We have Queen 8 suited. We're going to go very strong and linear from small blind. This is really close, like Queen 9 suited for sure. Queen 8, I think I'm going to play call. I think this is going to be 3-bet our best hands, call our medium hands, and this is just going to be a very heavy flat here. Boom, nice bounce back answer. Yes, very heavy and linear, flat in our medium hands. Especially when we're in there for half a big blind, it just loves seeing flops with the suited queens, the suited kings. Very cool. Okay, UTG +1 raises. 62 effective. Have to be pretty strong here. Queen Jack is going to be a pure fold. I think we 3-bet with some King Queen, some Ace 10 stuff, but I mean, this position versus a strong opening range, Queen Jack is surely going to shrivel up. It's got to be a pure fold. It is a pure fold. And yeah, I like it. 10-9 off versus a hijack open in the small blind. 65 effective. This is going to be a fold. We're going to flat the offsuit broadways, like Jack 10 gets in there for some flats, Queen Jack a little bit, but 10-9 suited is going to be a pure fold. Yes, we get in there with Jack 10, Queen 10, again, strong linear, especially when you're deep. It always uses a really linear strategy out of position, just because like wants to go to war with those big boys. Okay, interesting. We're 40 effective here, so this is actually going to be a little more polar. Cutoff raises. When we're a little more polar here, like Ace 9 is going to be a really good 3-bet here. King 10 off, like the offsuit stuff is going to do a little bit better here. I think Jack 8 just really wants to flat. I think it's going to 3-bet sometimes, but it's going to flat a lot as well. Oh, pure flat. And you can see, uses the offsuit stuff way more. Ace 8, Ace 9, we mentioned those. Thought we might 3-bet this a little bit, but it's actually a pure flat. Okay, a couple more linear. Low Jack opens. We have Ace Jack. We know this hand doesn't do as great deep. This is going to be a heavy call, I think, with a little bit of 3-bet. Calling here is pretty cool. We keep in their offsuit broadways. We have a low number here, so I'm going to lean towards flat in, but I think it's a heavy flat with a little bit of 3-betting. And it does mix. About 50-50. Ooh, under the gun raises. 60 effective. Right in this realm where we mix a linear and polarized strategy. King 8 suited is really fun 3-betting hand here. But I think call is just going to be a more common answer just because it's under the gun. Like, we just don't 3-bet that crazy against under the gun. So I'm going to play the flat, and it is a pure flat. Notice again, we're out of position, so it's just like a very basic, strong, and linear strategy. All right, one more. Give me a fun one. Queen 9 suited. This is a fun one. Under the gun raises 130 deep. Hijack, 130 effective. Oh, man, I just want to 3-bet this hand, right? It's right on the line. Like Queen 8 suited, we fold. Queen 10 suited is a pure play, so it's right on the line. It's pretty strong range. I'm gonna play the flat. Go a little more strong and linear, and it chooses all the options. Okay, decent answers. Drill this for early level MTT play. Very, very important. And let's move on. All right, now this is my favorite. Let's really dive into polarized strategies. So notice we're at 40 bigs effective. We know when we're between 20 and 40 bigs in most MTD spots, it's going to be a polarized strategy. On the left, we have a low jack opening range. And we have the button strategy. What do? We take our top hands, our top warriors. We're always going to go to war with them. 10s plus ace king. Now notice we flat the next bunch of hands. These are really good flatting hands. And then we take the bottom of our V-pips and they're going to be bluffs. And they're really, really effective. Ace 10, notice, is really, really good. Ace 9, the King 7, the King 9, the Queen 8. Very specific reasons why. Polarized ranges. We still want to play big pots with our big hands, but it really favors blockers. Blockers are super, super important. And when we're using a polarized range, board coverage is not important. Because say we play a 3-bet pot. Guess what? The stack to pot size ratio is like 1 or 2 or 1.5. It's so shallow that who cares if we get cooked on some boards? Whereas when we're deep, that board coverage is way, way more important. Remember, we need to identify all the specific strengths from all our ninjas, and we need to deploy them in certain ways. I love polarized ranges. It's so good. Let's look at this again. Low jack opens, button 3-bets. Notice how important the blockers are. All our best bluffs really have an ace in them. They have at least one high card. Having a king, a queen, an ace, you don't really 3-bet these anymore. When we're linear, you see these 3-bets come in because you're okay playing 9-8 suited in a 3-bet pot. But when we're polarized, we really don't. Our polarized bluffs are going to be really high card heavy. So let's talk about one of our ninjas in the polarized strategy. The best bluffing hands, high card is so important. We really want our high card to block the top of their opening range. At the same time, we get massive bonus points if our bottom card unblocks the bottom of their opening range. There's a very specific reason why we 3-bet bluff these hands when we're polar. We have a high card that blocks our opponent's top of their bluffing range, and then our undercard unblocks the bottom of their opening range. Let's look at this example again. So when we're attacking the low jack opening range with a polarized 3-bet, look, they have a lot of these offsuit broadways. They have a lot of 10s in their hands. They have some jacks as well. When we 3-bet, these offsuit broadways are all going to get folded. And remember how many combinations are there? So look at ace 9 is really good. Ace 9 is really good because we have an ace that blocks the top hands and the 9 unblocks these. That's why Queen 8's really good. King 9 is really good. King 7, Ace 6, Ace 5. Again, they all have these properties where we block the top of their range and we unblock the bottom. When we bluff here, we really want him to have full combos of offsuit broadways because they're going to be their automatic folds. It's really quite beautiful how the solver chooses these bluff hands really, really specifically. Another benefit of using this like specific polarized range, we're happy to fold to a 4-bet. When we're playing 30 big blind poker, we are going to get 4-bet shoved on a decent amount of the time. They are going to have it. So let's say we 3-bet King Jack suited and we get shoved on, we're like, shit, man, like this is a really good hand. We're folding a lot of equity. That's why King Jack suited is a flat. When we're 3-betting our polar range, we have our top warriors that we're happy to snap get the money in, and then we have our bluffs that are like, oh, they had it this time, we're just going to fold. But we're not wasting our hands. We're not wasting our warriors on the battlefield. These are like the scouts, the bluffing scouts. Very, very cool. Let's keep looking at some more examples. This is what we were just looking at. Let's look at... Okay, perfect. Now let's talk about the best flatting hands when we're playing a polarized range. There's very specific reasons that make these hands really, really good. It's about dominating our opponent's hands when we go post flop. So we're going to flat these ranges when we're playing a polarized range. Basically, they're playable hands that we don't want to get shoved on. Again, if we 3-bet ace 10 suited and we get shoved on, we're in a very bad spot. If we 3-bet king queen suited and we get shoved on, we're like in a really, really bad spot. That's one of the reasons why these are really good flatting hands. Another good reason is, remember, we've said this multiple times, the game kind of revolves around the offsuit broadways. When we flat these hands, they kind of dominate the offsuit broadways. We can really, really do well post flop. So this is our opponent's opening range. These offsuit broadways, there's so many combos here. When we flat king queen suited, we dominate king jack, we dominate queen jack, we dominate king 10, queen 10. We really do really well. We can often flop top pair, dominate them. That's why ace queen suited is a really heavy flat here as well. We dominate all of these, where if we 3-bet ace queen, those are the first hands to fold. So it's so beautiful. Again, let's go through this again. This is why the polarized strategy is so sexy, because we get money in with our good hands. When we flat these very specific hands, we're doing very well versus the bottom of our range, and we selectively bluff with the bottom tier, specifically when we have a high card and a low card that unblocks their opening range. If we 3-bet king 7 suited here, they're just automatically folding like 12 combos of king 10 off, all the combos of queen 10. It's really, really cool how it's put together. All right, I hope you guys are getting a sense of that. Let's continue with some more examples. Let's look at another example where we're going to use a polarized strategy, and that comes button versus big blind. So we're in a tournament, we're getting pretty deep, 40 bigs. This is the button opening strategy, and we're in the big blind. What do we want to do? Well, we know we're shallow, so we're automatically going to use a polarized strategy, which means we're going to 3-bet our really good hands that we're happy to go to war with, 9s plus. We get some really good hands in here. And then where are we going to find our bluffs? Notice we don't use any suited hands because these are really playable and they have good equity. Why would we ever 3-bet queen 8 suited here? Because when button shoves, we're going to have to fold, and like, what a waste. What a beautiful hand that is like left on the battlefield. So that's why we use these cards. And again, notice the shelf strategy come in. What is the bottom of our opponent's opening range? We know the button is opening the offsuit 8s and the offsuit 9s. We really, really don't want to have an 8 or a 9 in our hand when we bluff here. We want to have a high card that blocks the top of their range, and we want a low card that unblocks the bottom. So we use ace 6, because when we use ace 6, they're just folding this entire portion of their range. We use king 6. Notice we're not bluffing very often with an 8 or a 9 in our hand, because that would block the bottom of their opening range. So a beautiful polarized strategy here. King 5, queen 5. And again, let's say we get shoved on. Oh, well, we're folding king 6 offsuit. Like, it's not a huge, huge waste. Let's again put this into the visual perspective. This is why we use the polarized strategy. It's like, these are the hands we want to build with. We're flatting with these hands. They're so good. And then these have the amazing, amazing bluff qualities. And I hope you guys can see this come together. I remember when I started learning this and understanding it, it was just really kind of cool. And like, it's like, oh man. And then when you put it into practice, you see it actually work. When you're bluffing with the right combos, your opponent folds so much more. You're way more confident. And then when you're flatting the right combos, you're dominating their shitty offsuit broadways, and it just like really helps build your entire poker game. Very, very cool. All right. So let's see if I can recreate a polarized strategy off the top of my dome. Again, I encourage you guys pause the video, try to recreate this with me now that we've gone through this lesson. I'm going to erase this like an Etch-a-Sketch. Okay, we're in game. We're 40 bigs deep. I'm on the button, and the cutoff has opened. How am I going to play? Okay, cutoff open range, 40 bigs deep. We know that their offsuit 9s are the bottom. We know we want to go polar here because we're 40 bigs deep. I know I'm going to be very active with the 9s plus, the ace kings, something like this. Okay. Well, I really want to unblock the 9 and the 10 because that's the bottom of their opening range. So when we 3-bet here, we really, really want to have like, I know, ace 8 is going to be my main 3-bet bluff. Ace 8 is going to be my absolute mandatory 3-bet bluff here. I think ace 7 is going to be really juicy. I think we're going to really find a heavy weight in king 7, king 6. I think we're going to have a heavy weight in king 5. Again, the high card, the low card that unblocks the bottom. We're not going to 3-bet suited connectors. That's only linear. We don't really do that. It's going to be a mix with these as well. These are going to be really good 3-bet bluffs. We're not going to 3-bet very many suited broadways. Why would we do that? We're going to get shoved on. We're going to get 4-bet. We don't want to do that. We're going to find a mix in this quadrant as well. And then over here, we are going to 3-bet some of these offsuit broadways a bunch as well. I really want a flat ace 10, I think. Something like this. Something like this is somewhere where I would land. It's going to be fractional amounts here as well. Again, I think this is a really good strategy. We're going to keep these hands because it dominates all this shit. And these are some really smart selective bluffs. Okay, I'm gonna lock in that answer and see how we did. How did we do? Okay. I'm overdoing it on the suited side, but you can see I have the general shape in mind. Again, ace-8 is one of our best because we unblock the shelf concept. So ace-8's really cooking it. Offsuit broadways are cooking it as well. I overcooked it in the suited stuff. I really did. I missed on some of these, but you can see the general shape. I did decently well. Flatting all of these. These are really super power hands. Very, very cool. I did all right, like A minus or something. All right, loaded up another drill with polarized 3-betting ranges in MTTs. So let's get at it. Low jack opens. Let's practice here. 17 bigs. It's really hard to 3-bet non all in off of 17 bigs. It's going to be primarily shove or fold. In the solvers at least. People do clicky things off this stack, but this is just going to be a fold. It's just too light for me to flat here off this hand. And we're going to check, and you can notice, yes, the solves pretty much plays shove or fold. Doesn't really do much flatting off this stack. It does with aces, though. It loves the aces trap. Okay. UTG raises off of 16 bigs. Ooh, really kind of puts my tough hand in a tough spot. We know these properties are really good. We have the high card, and we're unblocking. Like his bottom opens are going to be some 10s and some like offsuit jacks. So this is a pretty good hand to 3-bet. If we 3-bet, we're kind of going with it. Between flat or 3-bet, I'm torn. I'm going to go 3-bet. Ooh, good day, sir. I guess this is a byproduct of like when we 3-bet, we have to kind of get it in so it drops the bluffs. So a bit of a miss by me, but it's not too big of a mistake. 0.03. Okay, hijack opens. We know hijack has offsuit 10s pure. So this hand is going to do a lot of flat in here to dominate those offsuit 10s. But we do see a 92, and we do know that this is still a pretty good 3-bet bluff hand off of 50. So because of the high number, I'm going to play a pretty heavy raise. And let's check the answer. You can notice the polarized strategy with ace-10 being a pretty heavy clip. So very cool. I like my answer there. UTG raises. We have queen-8 suited. We know we need to be pretty polar here to 3-bet bluff. Really want to have an ace or a king in my hand. Queen-8 suited. Is this good enough to flat? Oh, versus UTG opening. God, the solves love the suited queens. I know this for sure. I'm going to say it's the bottom hand we flat, but I do think it's going to come in for a flat here. I've practiced this too much. Yeah, we got to be really polar here with our bluffs. Just loves flatting queen-9 suited, queen-8 suited from the small blind, so really happy with my answer there. Okay, queen-6 just far too light here to 3-bet bluff or flat. Would be pretty polar. It's just not happening here. Let's check out the answer. Yes, ace-10, ace-9. So you as soon as you sim these, you really can get a good idea of what you're supposed to flat, what you're supposed to 3-bet bluff. And this is very, very important. Now, we are playing for chips. We'll do future videos on ICM. It changes everything once again. UTG raises, we're 44 effective, have to be very strong here. 7-5 suited is so far below the qualification. 9-10 suited would be close. I think we pure play Jack-10 suited. But I think we fold 9-10 suited as well. 9-10 suited is a mix. Pure play Jack-10 suited. So pretty happy with my answer. Okay. Shallow though. It's tough to 3-bet fold. Man, when UTG opens off at 20, I just think you have to be a nit. I'm going to just pure fold the ace-5. It's interesting that the ace-5 is the only play there. All right, I'm happy ending the video there. I hope you guys really understand this concept. Very important. Again, if you're some crusher, I mean, you shouldn't be watching this series anyway, but to all the people that are learning with me, thank you. Leave me comments. You know, this is just cool. We're going to keep going on. really enjoying this. I hope you guys get this very valuable insight. Once you learn the concepts, set up the drills, practice it, rehearse it, make sure you're very, very familiar, because practice makes perfect, and you can get in a massive edge just through the hard work. So yeah, it's Kevin Martin. We'll see you in the next video.